Have you ever noticed that when a woman decides to walk away, something shifts? That suddenly the man who seemed distant and indifferent can't stop thinking about her. Why is that? What is it about a woman who chooses herself that becomes magnetic? In today's video, we're diving into the powerful psychology behind why men often come back to the woman who walked away first. It's not magic, it's human nature. This isn't just about relationships. It's about respect, value, and the strength of self-worth. Let's explore the 6 reasons why walking away can transform not only your relationship. A woman who walks away is a woman who knows her worth. She's not waiting to be chosen. She chooses herself. When a woman truly understands her self-worth, she exudes a unique energy that is almost impossible to ignore. This isn't about arrogance or playing hard to get. It's about recognizing that her value isn't tied to how others perceive her. Instead, it comes from within. She knows her strengths, her values, and what she brings to the table. And that inner confidence radiates outward. Men are instinctively drawn to this strength because it challenges them. A woman who walks away sends a clear message. She doesn't need anyone to complete her. She isn't begging for attention or validation because she has already validated herself. This kind of independence and self-assuredness is magnetic. It creates a sense of mystery and admiration. Why? Because unfortunately, it's rare in a world where many people tie their worth to external approval. When a woman chooses herself, she redefines the dynamic in a relationship. The man begins to realize that her presence was a privilege, not a given. Her decision to walk away isn't rooted in bitterness or anger. It's rooted in self-respect. She knows she deserves to be treated with love, kindness, and respect, and she won't settle for anything less. This courage to prioritize herself, even when it's difficult, is what separates her from others. This act of walking away forces a man to see her through a different lens. The same woman he may have taken for granted suddenly becomes the one he can't stop thinking about. Her actions demand attention and introspection. Men are wired to respect strength, and there's no greater display of strength than a woman standing firmly in her self-worth. Self-worth also means having standards, and those standards are non-negotiable. When a woman knows her value, she isn't afraid to demand the same from those around her. She doesn't settle for half-hearted efforts, empty promises, or anything less than the love and respect she deserves. And here's the core: isn't about controlling or manipulating someone else's behavior. It's about setting the tone for how she expects to be treated. When a man encounters a woman with this kind of confidence and clarity, it often triggers a deep internal response. He realizes that if he doesn't rise to meet her standards, someone else will. And more importantly, she'll be perfectly fine on her own. This isn't about desperation. It's about dignity. Finally, self-worth creates attraction because it leads to authenticity. A woman who values herself doesn't feel the need to pretend or play games to win someone over. She is unapologetically herself, and that authenticity is incredibly appealing. Men respect and admire women who are real, women who embrace their strengths and flaws without fear. In the end, self-worth isn't just attractive, it's transformative. It changes how you see yourself and how others see you. It's a silent, unspoken power that commands respect, admiration, and ultimately love. When you're always there, you're taken for granted. But when you step away, something remarkable happens. Your absence speaks louder than your presence ever could. This isn't just a cliche. It's human nature. People often don't realize the value of what they have until it's no longer there. When a woman decides to walk away, she creates a void, a space that forces the other person to reflect on her importance in their life. That space isn't just physical, it's emotional, mental, and even spiritual. It's in this absence that true clarity emerges. Men, like everyone else, are creatures of habit. When someone is consistently available, their presence can start to feel ordinary, almost like background noise. It's not intentional, but it happens. Familiarity can sometimes lead to complacency, and what once felt special begins to feel routine. Walking away disrupts that pattern. It shocks the system. Suddenly, the woman who was always there is gone, and the man is left to confront a new reality, one where her laughter, support, and love are no longer present. This absence acts as a mirror, reflecting what life looks like without her. The meals that once felt complete now feel empty. The conversations that once flowed effortlessly are replaced with silence. The comfort of her presence is replaced with longing. This isn't manipulation. It's a natural consequence of removing something valuable. And it's in this absence that her true worth becomes undeniable. Walking away also shifts the power dynamic in a relationship. It's easy to take someone for granted when they're always there, no matter what. But when a woman walks away, she reclaims her power. She's no longer at the mercy of someone else's choices or behavior. This act of stepping back forces the other person to reflect on what they've lost. And reflection is powerful. It creates the space for growth, understanding, and sometimes even regret. For the man, this absence is often a wake-up call. He begins to replay moments in his mind. The things she said, the sacrifices she made, the joy she brought into his life. In her absence, those memories take on a new significance. What he once overlooked or dismissed now becomes crystal clear. He starts to understand what he had and what he let slip away. Absence doesn't just amplify value in romantic relationships. It's a universal truth. It's why people treasure vacations, holidays, or rare moments of peace. Scarcity creates value. And when a woman who is consistently given here time, energy, and love steps away, it's like removing a rare gem from a display. The loss is felt deeply because her presence was never ordinary. It was extraordinary. Ultimately, walking away isn't about punishing someone else. It's about prioritizing yourself and creating the space for others to recognize your value. Absence amplifies value because it forces people to see clearly what they had, often for the first. It's a reminder that your presence is a gift, not a guarantee. And it's up to others to walking away isn't just an act of defiance. It's a declaration of boundaries. It's saying, this is what I will and will not accept. And boundaries, they're not walls to keep people out. They're guidelines that teach others how to treat you. Boundaries are a reflection of self-respect. When a woman walks away, it's often because her boundaries have been crossed, ignored, or dismissed. She doesn't leave out of anger or spite. She leaves because she understands that staying in a situation that diminishes her value is a disservice to herself. And that act of honoring her boundaries is a powerful lesson in respect. In any relationship, the way you allow others to treat you sets the tone for how they will continue to treat you. If you accept disrespect, inconsistency, or neglect, you inadvertently teach others that these behaviors are okay. But when you establish and enforce boundaries, you communicate a different message. You are not to be taken lightly, and your standards are non-negotiable. For men, this shift is profound. A woman who enforces her boundaries demonstrates strength, clarity, and self-assurance. She becomes someone they can't push around or manipulate. Instead of viewing her as difficult or unyielding, men often find themselves respecting her more because she demands a higher level of accountability and effort. Boundaries also create a sense of structure and stability. They define the limits of what is acceptable and what isn't. And in a relationship, that clarity is invaluable. When a woman walks away because her boundaries have been disrespected, it forces the man to confront his own behavior. It compels him to evaluate whether he is willing to change, grow, and meet her expectations, or risk losing her for good. Setting boundaries is an act of courage. It's not easy to say no, to walk away, or to demand better, but it's necessary. Boundaries aren't about control. They're about respect for yourself and for the relationship. They create a framework where both parties can thrive, free from resentment, misunderstanding, or unmet expectations. For a man, a woman with firm boundaries becomes a challenge. And that's a good thing. She's not easy to win over because she values herself too much to settle for less. This challenge inspires him to step up, to become a better version of himself, and to meet her where she is. It's not about her forcing him to change, but about him realizing that her standards are worth striving for. Ultimately, boundaries command respect because they are a reflection of your self-worth. They show that you value yourself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't serve you. And in doing so, you teach others to value you too. Walking away isn't the end. It's a powerful beginning. It's the moment when you reclaim your power, reset the terms of your relationship, and inspire those around you to rise to your level. Confidence is the ultimate game changer. When a woman walks away with her head held high, it shifts the entire dynamic. It's no longer about what she's lost. It's about what she's gained. Her sense of self, her power, and her peace. Confident isn't just a trait. It's an energy, a presence. When one woman confidently decides to walk away, she redefines the narrative. She's not leaving because she's weak, desperate, or giving up. She's leaving because she knows her worth and refuses to compromise it. That level of confidence demands attention and respect for many men. This shift is jarring. They're used to seeing women cling to relationships, beg for change, or compromise their happiness for the sake of staying. But a confident woman breaks this pattern entirely. Her decision to walk away isn't framed as a loss. It's a declaration that she's prioritizing herself. And that confidence is magnetic. Confidence changes the dynamic because it removes desperation from the equation. When a woman walks away with confidence, she's not seeking validation or chasing someone else's approval. She's standing firm in her decision, fully aware that she's doing what's best for her. This independence forces a man to see her in a new light, not as someone who needs him, but as someone who chooses herself. Men are naturally drawn to confident women because confidence signifies strength, self-assuredness, and emotional maturity. A confident woman knows what she wants and isn't afraid to demand it. She doesn't settle for mediocrity, and she won't tolerate disrespect. This clarity of purpose challenges the man to rise to her level. He's no longer in control of the dynamic. She is. Confidence also creates intrigue. A woman who walks away with poise leaves a lasting impression. She's not shouting, begging, or arguing. She's simply walking away, leaving the man to question what he did to lose her. This silence speaks volumes, and it forces him to reflect deeply on his actions and the role he played in the situation. But confidence isn't about arrogance or trying to prove a point. It's about trusting yourself, your choices, and your ability to thrive, even if it means thriving alone. A confident woman doesn't need someone else to complete her or make her happy. She finds happiness within herself. And that inner peace is what makes her so attractive. For the man, this confidence is often a wake-up call. It shifts the power dynamic in the relationship, compelling him to reevaluate his own confidence and behavior. A confident woman inspires growth, respect, and admiration. She's not just walking away, she's walking forward towards something better, stronger, and more fulfilling. Ultimately, confidence changes the dynamic because it puts the focus back on what truly matters. Self-respect, self-love, and self-worth. When a woman embraces her confidence, she reclaims her power and sets a new standard for how she expects to be treated. And in doing so, she changes not just the relationship, but herself. Emotional independence is one of the most powerful and rare qualities a person can possess. It's the ability to stand strong in your emotions, to be okay with who you are, regardless of what's happening around you, and especially regardless of how others are treating you. A woman who walks away exhibits this rare strength. She doesn't need validation from anyone to feel complete. In today's world, emotional dependence is all too common. Many people, both men and women, rely on others to fulfill their emotional needs. They seek approval, love, or even validation to feel worthy. And while connection with others is necessary, there's a dangerous line where we begin to define ourselves by the people in our lives. This is where emotional independence becomes an invaluable trait. Emotional independence doesn't mean shutting yourself off from love or intimacy. It means that your emotional state isn't dictated by someone else's behavior. It's the ability to be whole regardless of whether or not someone else shows up or stays. And that, my friends, is incredibly rare. Most people will stay in situations where They're undervalued, ignored, or mistreated simply because they fear being alone or feel that they need someone else to complete them. But a woman who walks away from such a situation is rare because she's not afraid to be alone with herself. She trusts that she can navigate the challenges of life on her own and that her worth doesn't diminish when someone else leaves or doesn't. This emotional independence is magnetic. Men, and people in general are drawn to strength. And emotional independence is a type of strength that is often underestimated. A woman who is emotionally independent doesn't cling to a man for validation. Instead, she seeks to build a life based on her own terms, values, and aspirations. She doesn't allow her emotions to be manipulated or shaped by someone else's actions or words. For a man, this level of emotional independence can be intimidating, but also incredibly attractive. It forces him to see the woman in a new light. He realizes that she's not dependent on him to be happy or fulfilled. And that shift can be both humbling and awe-inspiring. Because in truth, when someone isn't emotionally dependent on you, it forces you to step up in ways you may not have before. It's no longer about feeling needed. It's about offering genuine love and care to someone who has her own life and sense of purpose. Emotional independence also gives a woman the freedom to make clear decisions. She can walk away from toxic relationships, unhealthy dynamics, and situations that don't serve her. She doesn't need anyone else's approval to make a move. She trusts her own instincts and stands firm in her choices. This level of inner clarity allows her to navigate life's challenges without losing herself in the process. And here's the key. Emotional independence isn't about building walls or isolating yourself from others. It's about maintaining a deep connection with yourself, your values, your goals, and your boundaries, while still being open to love, relationships, and connection. When a woman is emotionally independent, she is fully capable of giving love, but she does so from a place of abundance, not need. She doesn't give because she feels she must to secure her place or maintain a relationship. She gives because she genuinely wants to. Ultimately, emotional independence is rare because it requires a deep sense of self-awareness, self-love, and strength. It's a state of being that most people never achieve, often because they're too afraid to trust themselves or stand alone. But for the woman who walks away, emotional independence is the very thing that empowers her to reclaim her life. It is in this independence that her value shines brightest, and it is this independence that forces others, men included, to recognize her strength, her worth, and her unshakable commitment to herself. Growth isn't just about becoming better. It's about transformation. It's about shedding the old, confronting your limitations, and reaching for something greater. And when a woman walks away to grow, she forces everyone, especially the men, to reflect on where they are and where they might have fallen short. Growth is inherently uncomfortable. It requires change, sometimes dramatic change. And it's in the moments of discomfort and uncertainty that we often make our most profound leaps. When a woman chooses to walk away, it's because she has outgrown a situation that no longer serves her. She recognizes that in order to grow, she must leave behind the familiar, the comfortable, and the stagnant. And this decision to grow is the ultimate catalyst for reflection. For a man, the woman's departure can be a wake-up call. It forces him to confront the relationship, his behavior, and his own growth, or lack thereof. Men often think they are in control of the narrative, but when a woman walks away with purpose and intent, it challenges everything. He has to ask himself, what did I do wrong? Why did she leave? What is it about this situation that caused her to choose herself over me? These questions are powerful because they spark introspection. They demand self-examination. And it's in this reflection that true growth begins, not just for the woman, but for the man as well. When someone is forced to reflect on their behavior, their actions, and the impact they've had on another person, it brings clarity. It's often only when something is gone that we truly understand its value. The absence of the woman, her energy, her presence, her love creates a void that forces him to pause and examine where things went wrong. This introspection doesn't just impact the immediate relationship. It influences how he approaches future relationships, how he treats others, and how he understands himself. Growth forces us to face the uncomfortable truths about who we are, and this is why it's so challenging. It's easy to point fingers, to blame others, and to avoid accountability. But when growth is on the table, we are forced to take responsibility for our actions. For the man who sees the woman walk away, this reflection often leads to a harsh truth. He didn't give her what she deserved, or he didn't value her in the way she needed to be valued. And that realization stings, but it's also an opportunity for transformation, a chance to become someone better on the other side of growth. However, is clarity and freedom. A woman who walks away isn't just creating distance in a relationship. She's creating space for personal evolution. And in this space, she finds her strength, her purpose, and her own sense of direction. Her growth isn't just about leaving behind what no longer serves her. It's about stepping into the woman she's meant to be. And in doing so, she shows the man that true strength comes from the ability to grow, to evolve, and to always choose oneself, even when it's difficult. For the man, the growth of the woman forces him to reconsider his own growth. It's easy to settle into a relationship and let it coast. But when the other person grows, when they make the courageous decision to walk away and build a better future, it's an invitation for him to do the same. Growth demands action. It requires courage, and it forces us to examine what we're willing to leave behind in order to create something better. Ultimately, growth forces reflection because it compels us to examine who we were, who we are, and who we are becoming. It strips away the distractions, the excuses, and the justifications. And in that raw space, we are left with the truth, our strengths, our flaws, and everything in between. When a woman walks away to grow, she not only transforms her own life, but also leaves a lasting impact on the man who was once part of hers. The reflection that follows her departure becomes the catalyst for change. And the growth that follows is a powerful reminder that the only way to truly move forward is by embracing change with courage, clarity, and purpose. Walking away isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about showing that you won't settle for anything less than you deserve. And when you do that, you don't just attract people, you attract respect, admiration, and the kind of love you truly deserve. Remember, your value isn't determined by who stays. It's revealed by what you refuse to If this message resonated with you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Don't forget to subscribe for more content that empowers you to take control of your life and relationships. Now, go out there and choose yourself first.